Please help me, like this video and subscribe. I really appreciate your help. Sex shop and sex workers of Reddit. What are some of the best examples or clients not knowing how anatomy/sex works? I managed porn stores to get myself through college. One of the girls I felt most sorry for was a chubby girl, no hate here, who said no one would go down on her, and she wanted to know what oral sex was like. I pointed her to a little pink butterfly toy that had battery operated suction. I gave her a handful of free lube samples to go with it, and wished her luck. She came back to the store later that same night, toy in the bag. I sent it home and she was upset and wanted a refund because she said the butterfly was very uncomfortable. I quickly told her all sales final and then asked questions. So, the girl had inserted the hard plastic butterfly suction side in. She had no idea that she had a clitoris above her vaginal opening that could bring her to orgasm. I sent her on her way with some education and more lube samples. I didn't see her again though, so let's call that a win. Customers firmly placing their thumb above my pubic bone, not moving it, watching me have literally no reaction, and then believing that they brought me to orgasm by doing that. I forgot that this post was also asking for sex workers to comment, and I thought you meant a sex shop customer, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Still wild though. Sex shop worker here. I answered a call from a man who had purchased a sounding device. It goes in your urethra. If you didn't know, he couldn't get it out. I asked him if he'd used lube, and he told me no, and that it was starting to hurt. He asked if he should yank it. I just had to tell him to contact his doctor. I hope he got it out. Oh god, why would you not use lube? This doesn't quite count, but kind of, before the twist ending. So I worked in a sex shop when I was 18. They had a staff party, and being the new recent hire, I had to stay and maintain the shop. Fair enough, senior may junior must. I get this girl coming at like 10:30, half hour before closing. She wants a dildo, but says she's never bought one before and needs assistance. Sure. I mean, I hadn't even owned one myself, but I had been there a month or so, and had read the packaging while stocking, so I knew a bit. Also, we were encouraged to look up sex toy related articles on the work computer during slow periods, so okay, we go over. She says she's looking for something without vibration as that doesn't do much for her. Straight up dildo. So I show her a few, but she's not interested. Bigger, she says. My ex was big, and I need something similar. I miss him. Okay, so we go bigger. I'm pointing out 7-inch dicks and whatnot, and she's like, no, bigger. So I point out a honking 8-inch one. She sighs and hems and haws, and then says no, bigger. What about this one? Near the bottom of the rack was something with a name relating to a horse. I can't remember the actual name. It was like an 11.5-inch long dildo. Not only is that most certainly a fetish thing and definitely not something her ex had, this girl was like 5 feet and 100 lbs. But that's what caught her eye. So me, being all professional, but internally thinking that she wanna die, I explained to her the size and the girth, and give her a light warning of potential medical hazards if used improperly. She breaks out laughing. And then my boss is walking. Turns out she worked there as well, but since we were a one-person staffed establishment, I had never met her. She was sent in as a joke, her phone on the whole time, so the owners could hear what I did when this tiny-as chick asked for a horse cock. Well, congratulations on passing their professionality test. Damn. Former sex shop worker here. I'll tell a story that kind of fits this. At our store we sold an array of dildos. Some gag gifts, all shapes and sizes and colors, etc. The largest one by far was called the Great American Challenge. It is a purple behemoth that I'm fairly certain is girthier than my arm. I'm a skinny guy. One day this guy comes in as kin for a big gag dildo for his friend. I show him the big cheap ones. They are about $20 but large. Still smaller than Great American Challenge though. He says he wants something even bigger. I tell him there's nothing bigger that's in that price range. He then asks to see the bigger ones anyway, regardless of price. I show him the Great American Challenge and tell him the price is $70. Dude gets wide-eyed and buys it right away. He says, and I quote, "This will be great gag gift as a paperweight." Now we get the gag gift cover up quite often. Girls use it all the time. To buy for bachelorette parties. You aren't fooling anyone, ladies. But this guy using it with our largest dildo was not surprising. I assumed, however, that he knew what he was doing. About an hour later I get a call from what is clearly the same guy. I know it's him because he says he just bought a purple dildo from us that is very large. And that's only the Great American Challenge. We sell them once every couple months at best. He asks me what's the best way to use it. Confused I ask if he has any prior experience with smaller toys. He says no. This is his first time. I advise him to not use the toy and start smaller. And say that's about all the advice I can give you. He then one-ups himself and asks if he needs lube or if petroleum jelly is good enough. Of course you need lube, what the fuck man, I reply. He says well I don't have any, damn. Guess I'll just wing it. Thanks for the advice. And he hangs up. I don't know whatever happened to that guy. But I'm assuming he ended up in the hospital with quite the story. No idea how it got that far up my ass. Doc, I must have slipped and fell. One more. I had a daytime regular named Terry. This was 20 years ago. But I'll never forget this old guy's name. He would stop by for 10 minutes, grab a VHS from the bargain bin and attempt to flirt with me while checking out. One day I noticed Terry is in the male enhancement section and he's been there a minute. I wander back and ask if he has questions. He is holding a penis pump and very seriously asks if I could handle something that big. I laughed out loud. That usually shut down any advances, but Terry kept at it. He told me there were obviously women who could handle it or we wouldn't sell them. Then Terry told me that his dick no longer got hard, but if he were able to keep suction on it while he put the toy / himself inside a vagina, that just might work. He never came back into the store after his purchase that day. Maybe it worked. Or maybe some woman killed him for trying to shove a fucking penis pump inside her. There are both pills and wearables for that. No need to resort to inserting the entire penis pump. I worked at a sex shop for like 3 years and the thing that irked me the most were people who were willfully ignorant about lube. Even after I'd explain why it's good for you, they'd be like nah, that's for old ladies. For either anal or vaginal sex it's there to reduce friction and make it more comfortable / safe. Many men and women have this misconception that if a woman cannot produce enough moisture on her own then there's something seriously wrong with her. It's actually very common for women of all ages to use lubricant from time to time, either because they are nervous / inexperienced, having very rough sex, or because their bodies simply don't produce that much. It would hurt me to think of all the women, especially inexperienced ones, getting their canals just fucking shredded because men or other women are shaming them for needing lube. Working there taught me that a surprising amount of people are very stupid, selfish lovers. Be careful out there, folks. I had an ex who hated lube. She wanted me to fist her, and when I'd try to lube up she'd ask me to towel off my hand because it's too slippery. I want to really feel it. I've got huge hands. BTW. I had a guy who wanted to meet up for full service, but said he didn't want me to be disappointed by how small his dick was. He said, "Don't worry though, I'll bring a banana for us to use so you'll still be satisfied." Keeping your potassium levels up is important. First one that comes to mind is having to explain to a gentleman that the reason his wife doesn't enjoy toys probably has something to do with the fact he was cleaning them with Clorox wipes beforehand. And numerous explanations that anal beads are not ripcords and your partner likely isn't a lawnmower. BEYBLADES. I can return this, right? You guys can just clean it and put it in a new package or whatever. If the industry worked like that, everyone would have hepatitis. Gross. No. I bought / received this blow up doll as a joke gift, and for a joke I blew it up and tried to fuck it, but it's really uncomfortable and doesn't feel realistic at all. It's just for a joke though, so I really don't want it anyway. I would never use it. I just tested it as a joke. Sure, buddy. Sure. One blessed girl studying the bondage rope with a furrowed brow and tiny frown. How do you get the guy's cock inside you with all the rope tied around it? Try this premium brand of lube. What kind of porn are you watching? Exactly. My partner wants a toy, but I'm insecure with the idea of them fucking a piece of silicone that doesn't look like my crotch. Look at this photo of my genitalia and help me find something to match. They always had genital warts. And they always ended up buying either the tiny teen pocket pussy with no discernible labia or the 11-inch ramrod with huge juicy balls. How we delude ourselves. A memorable old guy who walked with a cane and paid for his bi-weekly $5 DVDs with hundreds and only hundreds. I want to see close-ups of pussies, but I want your guarantee that there will be no visible anus in any shot in this film. If you won't guarantee that I won't see something I won't like, I will never shop here again. If you're not willing to get within 3 inches of a butthole even in your fantasies, you're never going to. Oh, I see why you need the porn. Very obviously 30 plus yo dude, sobbing openly, my mom will murder me if she finds out I bought a dildo. Please help me find something I can put in my ass without her knowing. I sold him an Anaras plug, but I'm concerned about why his mom had such vigilant access to his butthole. Countless dudes buying black rhino pills. This is supposed to make your dick bigger and let you fuck way longer. Countless women buying numbing lube slash spray slash cream. This is supposed to make his dick feel smaller and make it so you can get it over with way faster. Anyone shopping for a Hitachi, I heard these will make your clit die slash go numb slash lose nerve slash fall off. They all bought one eventually anyway. I once spent 20 minutes desperately trying to get a guy to buy enough lube after he told me that his girlfriend insisted that he get some because his initial attempt was him spitting on his dick and shoving it in her ass. I'm a salesperson, but I'm just being kind when I tell people to buy more than they think they need. He blew off my advice and bought a $1 foil packet of lube. My butthole clenched so damn hard just then. Who the fuck thinks a bit of spit will be fine for a hole that doesn't self-lubricate or stretch easily? Client was a middle-aged, married man. Kept hassling for no condom, and I kept refusing. He asked why I wouldn't do it, because surely I'm on a tablet to stop myself getting pregnant. I explained that condoms were important in protecting against STDs. He literally did now know what an STD was. I spent a while explaining to him, and he started to worry that his wife would find out he was seeing sex workers because he hadn't been using condoms. He said, so if I catch something, my wife could get it too. When I worked in a sex shop, lots of guys would come in looking for a gift for their female SO. I would often ask them if they were looking for a toy with clitoral or G-spot stimulation. The number of guys who looked at me blankly and went, what is clitoral? I just want something to put in her, or a version of that statement, never failed to surprise me. There's been a couple comments like that. And man, do I feel awful for those women. In the shop I work at, I get a lot of women who are curious about Kegel / Benwood balls, but wonder what happens if they get lost in their vagina. I always gently explain that, well, that's not possible, or at least highly unlikely. There's always questions about anatomy, but we just do our best to inform people. As an RN who worked there, I can attest to this. Had to explain to many women that the cervix will not suck up a condom into their womb. Well, it was common to ask guys buying stuff for their girlfriends if their girl was a clit, G-spot, or both kind of girl. Most of the time they didn't know. I'm a cam girl of 6 years. I've been asked if I worry about being stretched out and had to explain that's not really a thing. I was asked to lactate. A guy genuinely thought all women could lactate on demand. Anal. Oh my god, straight men don't understand anal. When I tell them I have to prep, they genuinely are confused. You'd be surprised how many men believe women will come on demand or come within 3 minutes of stimulation. My biggest pet peeve is when guys get mad at me for using lube. 1. A wet vagina doesn't mean it is aroused. 2. A dry vagina doesn't mean it's not aroused. 3. Silicone toys are extra harsh on the skin and dry you out. The cervix when touched hurts. It hurts. Pain. Painful. It does not feel good to have your cervix slammed into. It is not an accomplishment. If a girl pulls away because you are slamming into her cervix, fucking stop. I worked at a local sex shop last summer. Women always asked help from me because the only other person working was a guy. They wanted some sex toy but didn't know exactly what. I would usually ask something along the lines of what makes you come easier, clitoral stimulation or something inserted in you? I was there only for 2 weeks And during those 2 weeks, at least 7 women said, "Oh, I've never had an orgasm, so I don't know." Most of them were women under 25, but the oldest was around 35 to 40 and married. That poor woman. So when I was like 15, I was in a knife/smoke/sex shop, and some dude was in the sex part of the shop, and he was buying a dildo, and kept asking if it was long enough to reach his girlfriend's clit, and how deep inside a woman is her clit. And I was like, honey, how are you 30 something years old not knowing what a clit is? I don't want a vibrator. Those loosen your vagina. Sometimes I got people who didn't want anal toys because they had that fear, which isn't true BTW. The muscles just are conditioned to relax more. But this was a mother coming in and saying this: if you can shoot a child out of you and go back to having a normal vagina in 6 to 8 weeks, then a vibrator isn't gonna loosen anything. It's crazy to me how many women still think their vagina is gonna get loose if they have sex with a lot of partners or use toys or whatever. Edit. Please stop telling me about your vaginas or your wife's vagina or the vaginas you've seen in porn. I can't read about any more vaginas. Adult store employee here. It's mostly men not realizing the difference between a standard butt plug and a prostate massager. Coming up with a prostate massager and asking if it's a good plug for their girl. Then me explaining how it's for biological men, and then having to explain further how they themselves have a P-spot in their ass. Also, with dungs and some rabbit style vibrators, the material is a non-body safe TPE/TPR. It is porous and holds bacteria which can cause infections, and is recommend use with a condom. Seriously, please invest in high quality toys. I know money is tight sometimes, but you shouldn't risk your health for an orgasm. It isn't worth it. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments under the video, write what you think about all this. And also do not forget to watch our other videos. Bye.